Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Continuing the stories of the 252 Vaishnava disciples of Sri Gosaiji, Doso Baban Vaishnav Ki Varta. Today is day 134, Varta 111. The story of a mother and son, Brahmins from Gujarat, Bhav Prakash. These two are devotees of Rajasi disposition. In the eternal Leela, their names are Pyari and Dulari. Here Pyari appeared as the mother and Dulari as the son. Pyari. They manifest from Mena and are thus forms of her divine loving sentiment. The mother and son were Brahmins and lived in one village in Gujarat. When once Sri Gosaiji was travelling to Dwarka, he set up camp in their village. All the Vaishnavas of the village came there to have the sight of Sri Gosaiji. The mother and son came along with that group. They were astounded to have his sight, recognizing him to be the Supreme Lord, more beautiful than millions of cupids. They asked him to accept them as disciples. He gave them the Lord's name initiation. The Vaishnavas encouraged them to also request initiation with Brahma Sambandh. Sri Gosaiji said he would not yet grant this, that they should come to Gokul first, and then he would initiate them. Part 1. The mother and son were wealthy. They decided to visit Vraja and arrived in Gokul. They had the holy sight of Sri Navneet Priyaji at the time of the Raj Bhog Aarti. Afterwards they came to Sri Gosaiji in his betak. They offered him a donation. Sri Gosaiji asked them when they had arrived, and they replied that with his blessings they had had the holy sight of Sri Navneet Priyaji at the lunchtime service. Sri Gosaiji invited them to partake of Mahaprasad there itself. He served them a plate of prasad each, and sat in his betak and ate some pan leaves. When the Vaishnavas had finished having prasad, they came back to see him, and he also gave them some prasadi pan leaves. He then took some rest, and the Vaishnavas went back to their camp. They returned in the evening to again have the holy sight of the Lord before he took rest, and then went to Sri Gosaiji Betak, where he was giving divine discourse. They listened until the reading was over, and then supplicated Sri Gosaiji, "O Maharaj, please grace us by granting us the Brahma Sambandh initiation." He instructed them to fast for the whole of the next day, so that he could initiate them the day after that. The mother and son fasted accordingly. The next day they bathed in Sri Yamunaji early in the morning and came to stand humbly before Sri Gosaiji wearing clean garments. He initiated the two of them in the presence of Sri Navneet Priyaji. They remained in Gokul for a few days and then took Sri Gosaiji's permission to have the holy sight of Sri Govardhanaji and then to go on tour of the whole of Vraj. He gave them permission to do so. The mother and son bowed to Sri Gosaiji and set off. They had the holy sight of Sri Govardhanaji, then toured the whole of the land of Vraj and came back to Gokul. When they saw Sri Gosaiji, he asked them if they had toured the whole of Vraj, and they replied that they had done so, after having the holy sight of Srinathji. These two Brahmin Vaishnavas then supplicated Sri Gosaiji to give them further instructions. He told them that they should now make Seva to the Lord. However, they replied that their heart's desire was to serve him. He asked them what kind of Seva they would like to do, and they said that they would like to serve him in the same way they would serve the Lord. Prepare him a throne with low tables in front of it, have a stand and place a water pitcher on it for him, cook and offer him various preparations, and they would stand outside whilst he was partaking of the foodstuffs. Then he would wash and wipe his hands and mouth. Please let us serve you in this way. Sri Gosaiji is most kind. His name is one who fulfills his devotees' desires. He said to the mother and son, "I will come to your house and accept your seva, but you will not let anyone else know about this. If anyone finds out, I shall leave immediately." This kind of seva should be done in private, Bhav Prakash. It is fulfilled through deep devotional sentiment and should therefore never be revealed to others. Part 1 continued. The Vaishnavas agreed to his terms. They did not serve any other Swarupa and kept Sri Gosaiji in their heart of hearts. He then took leave of Sri Gosaiji and returned home to Rajnagar. The mother asked the son if he would get married. "Your wife can help you in the seva." The son's mind was not on worldly matters, and he said that it would be better to spend whatever wealth they had in seva and not for worldly affairs. He did not wish to marry. The old mother tried to persuade him, but he was fixed on seva. They then had a new house built, at the centre of which was a secret and secluded temple. They built in it the exact style of the Lord's own temple, with balconies, a separate room for sleeping chamber, a room for preparing food offerings, a courtyard, a special balcony for the beloved swing, a room just for pure water to be kept, a place for maintaining purity, washing hands, etc., a place to receive and safe keep donations, all with exacting precision to the usage. Their living accommodation was separate, but they built it so that no one would realize that they had made a temple there inside. They arranged for Sri Gosaji's throne, the cloth drapes for above and behind it, and all other adornments. The well was also dug inside the walls. In fact, everything was invisible to the external eye. They bathed into a state of purity, aparas, before touching anything inside there, arranging the water pots, etc., and even cleaning the floor. They would then cook and make the offerings with full attention to all the ways of seva, including the jariji and water jug. They would join their hands respectfully, meditate in their hearts on the form of Sri Gosaji as they had seen him, and supplicate, O blessed Lord, Sri Thakurji accepts his offerings through the auspices of Sri Acharyaji, and you will accept these offerings through Sri Acharyaji's auspices and also on your own authority. Having thus made their offerings, they would step outside and sit to sing the Lord's praises. Sri Gosaji greatly blessed them by coming there to partake of the offerings personally, and indeed very much enjoys the lovely preparations. After the appropriate amount of time for the offerings, they would take them back as prasad and further offer water for Sri Gosaji to rinse his hands and mouth. They would next offer him sweetened palm leaves according to the traditional manner. They did not use bells and cymbals when they performed the Arati Seva. They would settle Sri Gosaji down for a short rest in the afternoon and put the Mahaprasad into other containers and then wash up all the pots and pans. When they were all clean, they would put them back into the place and finish off all the other temple chores. They then got their plates ready and after first feeding some to the cows, sat down to partake of the Mahaprasad. It always had a most divine taste. After all, they considered, this has been accepted and enjoyed by Sri Gosaji, so it will naturally taste quite wonderful. They made seva in this way daily. If a Vaishnava should happen to come their way, they would feed them Mahaprasad and let them take their leave. They never invited anyone to stay there. After some time, their funds began to dwindle. The son addressed his mother, We have no funds left, and we cannot make seva with no wealth. If you give your permission, I shall go out of town for a year or so and earn enough to be getting on with. The mother said, But you will be away from your seva. The son replied, Please just continue with the seva as we have been doing it so far, and I shall make sure I am back within a year. The mother agreed. The son set off, and she continued the seva in the same way as usual. One day, when she was preparing vegetables, she thought, It would be so nice if my son were here to help me. She finished preparing the vegetables and made the offerings. Sri Gosaji rejected the bowl with the vegetables in it. She sat outside and sang the Lord's praises and then came in to accept the offerings back as prasad, and when she noticed that the vegetables had been pushed to one side, she then offered Sri Gosaji water to wash his hands and mouth and a cloth to wipe his face, and then humbly inquired, O Maharaj, why did you not accept the vegetable offering? He replied, Where was your mind when you were preparing those vegetables? She admitted that she had been thinking about her son. He asked her why she had let her mind run off into worldly matters. That is why I did not accept the vegetables. He spoke in a celestial voice and taught her in this way at least 10 times. In this way, he used to speak to her directly. It was not too long before the son returned. He brought funds with him. Then these two Brahmin Vaishnavas, mother and son, got back into the routine of making the seva together very nicely. Sri Gosaji continued to grant them his direct experience. The moral of this story is that one should serve the Lord with the same careful considerations as one does when looking after one's own body, serving in a careful and loving way. Yata deha tata sneha. Thus concludes Varta 111, the story of the Brahmin mother and son, recipients of Sri Gosaji's great grace and accomplished Vaishnavas, who realized that Sri Gosaji's words were the manifestation of his own divine form. Thus they served him very nicely. There is no end to their tale. Very important Varta. जय श्री राधे. आज के आनंद जी की जय हो. सब वैष्णवों को सनम्र सादर जय श्री कृष्ण. जय जय श्री राधे. जय श्री राधे.